expect to keep it that way.
So, Death of the American Dream, that's what you guys are about to drop on everybody? That's what I saw, you're keeping it as that title?
Very soon, yeah.
Yeah.
That's been the working title for, I guess, a little over a year now. We weren't really so sure about it as soon as we got into it, but it kind of developed.
Grew on us a little bit.
Yeah.
Pretty shortly after we started the pre-production.
Is there like a thematic current running through the whole album that's like attached to this title, or?
Yeah, there turned out to be one. Again, like it pretty much with the same thing as the name of the record. It didn't really pop into our heads ahead of time. It kind of, manifested itself over a period of time, just cultivating the whole thing. Jared actually came up with the name of the record just off the top of his head. It was something that he felt was really strong and something to really build off of, and something that, somehow delivered like the right kind of feeling behind what we were doing, even though there wasn't necessarily a theme yet. Interestingly enough, though, kind of a theme, kind of like a storyline, kind of manifested itself just from seeing the way the project was developing, which was really interesting because it wasn't premeditated at all, but it actually started to make a lot of sense once we started looking at the thing as a complete project from beginning to end. We started to recognize a storyline kind of flowing through it, so it was a nice accident, for sure. It was a happy accident.
Cool. Musically, how would you say it compares to what the Eidolon? Is that how you pronounce that? Is that the correct pronunciation? I don't.
The Eidolon.
The Eidolon. Sorry, I was reading that. I was like, oh God, I'm not gonna say this right. I mean, where do you see similarities or differences between the two in terms of the music on them?
I would have to say the biggest difference, at least, is without a doubt growth.
Yeah.
When we first did the Island, that was before Nick or Spencer had joined the band, and we were all very young. I believe I was 18 at the time, or 18 or 19, and Andrew, our drummer, must have been like 14, 15 years old. And I mean, it was our first attempt at joining the whole process and trying to join the scene, and we all felt very accomplished with the result of it. And there's still a song or two on there that we like to play once in a while, and I mean, it turned out really good, but compared to like what we're doing now, it's much more evolved and progressed. Like,
you just had that experience under your belt.
Yeah, it was that first step, basically.
Yeah, I know the three of these guys, well, Ben and Jared and Andrew specifically are probably going to, have the harshest criticism about the difference between those two albums because they were involved with them and we weren't. I was, privy to some of the production process of it, just kind of seeing what they were doing and checking out what was going on and lending a couple pointers here and there. But, for me, seeing them start off as something that a project I wasn't involved with, and seeing them develop over those couple of years before I got involved, I mean, the way that I look at that record is just like an interesting snapshot of like the spark of what they started. It was like just a lot of raw ideas. So if anything, it's interesting to look at just as an example of, their initial attempt at, at writing as a group. I like the songs, but we're hoping to have stepped it up several degrees between then and now.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So you weren't involved in the band yet with the writing process for this album, or?
Well, this album, by the time I got involved, there was about 4 or so songs written for it.
Yeah.
The few that I was privy to the writing process, I think I was heavily involved in, but there was a couple that were just full songs. By the time I was there, I definitely added some of my own twist to them on the bass end of things, and there's definitely a few songs that have my mark on them on this album. There's going to be more of them on the next one that
Nice.
do.
Are you guys already working on are you writing beyond this album right now?
Yeah.
in terms
Oh,
of
yeah,
what's going
absolutely.
on? Yeah.
The songs for this record have been done for a while, so I mean it's kind of hard to stand still for too long. I mean, there's always new ideas popping up just from, just having the time to reflect. Once you finish recording songs, you kind of want to take a break from them for a while. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Like I said before, I mean, we like to be able to keep the gears moving. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to record an album, put it out, and wait too long to start writing again, because it's like, you know, shaking the dust off of everything and getting going again. But I mean, I even constantly bring stuff to practice to work on with no intentions of necessarily keeping them for the next album, but, you know, like I said, just to keep things moving in everyone's mind, you know,
Yeah.
constantly trying to be creative about something.
I think that's probably the best attitude, because if you just start resting on your laurels, it's like it's harder to get up again
Exactly.
and get going. So
No, we're all the type of people that what we've done is never good enough for what we want to do. So if we're not getting better, we're getting worse in that
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to even like jam on cover tunes once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, just to remember that you can, you know, horse around and have fun.
All right, do you
And
guys
not,
have favorite covers that you like to jam?
Yeah.
Love and Thunder's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, we do the Mastodon tune once in a
Yeah.
while. It
Yeah.
kind of sits right with like our style anyway, so it's fun. But you know, like we'll jam on little rips of stuff here and then eventually figure out that everybody knows the most of a song.
Right.
You know, and we
Yeah.
kind of
Not the entire thing. We'll
But,
play like 3 minutes of Battery and then play 2 minutes of I'm Broken.
2-minute
and then-
segments of
Yeah.
every Metallica song.
There you
is,
go.
You know.
Yeah. So back to the album. What do you guys have a release date for it yet? What's
Well, it became a little bit convoluted over the last few months. Originally, we were hoping to have it out before the winter time, but we decided to kind of hold off on things for a few extra months, just to kind of, you know, let things go through the ebb and flow that they do every year, like throughout the holiday season. So our plan for right now is probably, I would say by the middle of April, we should have a disc for people to buy, MP3s to download, and hopefully some new merch for people to purchase online. And as far as like an official release date for a release party, we're probably going to announce that sometime over the next few weeks.
cool? But I wanted to ask you guys, because I feel like it's a hot topic of debate just for any musician, anybody involved in the music industry, is kind of the distribution of music. Like, what do you guys think is the most effective way to get the furthest reach out of it? Do you think there's still money in selling CDs? I mean,
It's the big question.
There can be.
yeah.
It's not as easy to predict anymore, for sure. I mean, I guess it depends on, you know, how you mean, you know, in a monetary way. I think that selling CDs may not be the most efficient means anymore, but it's not something that people should ignore.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about like the selling of CDs specifically, but just the selling of records is always important. I mean, like, as much as something can be found online for free, it's important to a lot of people, including myself, to really like take home the experience of something that people worked on for a long time. You know, a culmination of the songwriting, of the production, of the artwork. You know, as much as that may not be the industry standard anymore, and it may not be looked at as the smartest business model for things in terms of the kind of music we're doing, I don't think that it's safe for us to, you know, let it go altogether. Because I mean, we're looking to release the record on, well, we're looking to press it on 12-inch vinyl as well as CD, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to, just to be able to take it home myself, you know. And there's something about like getting the whole package, you know, and taking home the experience. You know, it's a multi-sensory thing, and so
It's funny that you bring up vinyl, because that it seems like that's one of those things that is increasingly more popular, at least within metal. Like, I think there's a certain trend back towards it where people feel that intimacy with the product that they're getting when they have that pressed vinyl in their hand.
it's nice to see it being revitalized,
Yeah.
you know, because it embodies the spirit of what we're doing. Having a lot of MP3 sales online is great, because it shows that there's traffic and there's people interested in what you're doing on the go. Just, you know, a lot of people are not able to take the time and really sit down and dive into a record the way that people used to, but people still have a way of appreciating what's going on and checking in with bands online, and even if it's just touching it, like just on the touch and go day-to-day basis, it's something that's really important to have.
Yeah.
It's also going to be nice to have that artwork on a big 12-inch canvas. I mean, Steve Shorts worked really hard to paint those images for us, and I think seeing them on vinyl is a real way to appreciate them.
Yeah.
I think that there's something to be said about getting out there and pushing a record yourself, but you know, you have to be able to utilize all the resources that people have online, you
Yeah.
know. So I think ultimately it should really be a decent balance between street teaming it, guerrilla warfare, getting in people's faces, getting out on the road, getting in, you know, into like people's immediate areas and coming to them. But then there's also got to be a really significant online presence so that people
Yeah.
can come to you from wherever they are, you know.